You're listening to Straight No Chaser, the only show to quench your talk radio thirst. Some programs dilute the issues. We only serve the hard stuff. Old school, new school. Grab a glass and welcome your hosts, the Chief, MBZ, and Pastor C.
All right. Welcome to Straight No Chaser. We never dilute the issues. We only serve the hard stuff. It's your girl, MBZ, and as always, I'm here with the Chief and...
Hey.
Oh, good. And Thin Bad, filling in for Pastor C.
Hey.
So, today we're going to be talking about how Kanye West, or the artist formerly known as Kanye West, because he changed his name to Ye, has had one heck of a week. There's no denying Kanye West is an amazing artist who never runs away from controversy. If you recall, after Hurricane Katrina, he told the world that President Bush didn't care about black people and was praised by some and despised by others for his candor. Fast forward to last Saturday and his performance on Saturday Night Live, it left quite a few people scratching their heads, and immediately after the show, he topped it off with what the press described as a rant supporting Donald Trump, complete with his Make America Great Again hat. Oh, yeah. And, of course, it was captured by Chris Rock, who was in the audience. So let's take a listen to a sample from Inside Edition.
And so many times I talk to, a white person about this, and they say, how could you like Trump? He's racist. If someone inspires me and I connect with them, I don't have to believe in all their policies.
Kanye delivered the diatribe wearing a Make America Great Again cap.
They bullied me backstage. They said, don't go out there with that hat on. They bullied me backstage. They bullied me.
Trump didn't waste time responding. Word is that Kanye West, who put on a MAGA hat after the show, was great. He's leading the charge. The pro-Trump speech took the audience and cast members by surprise.
You see, they laughing at me. You heard them, they scream at me.
Comedian Chris Rock was in the audience recording it. He can be heard snickering and whispering, "Oh my God."
Wow. Well, of course he went back into the slavery issue after this all arose, asking folks to support getting rid of the 13th Amendment, which, abolished slavery. No biggie. But if you recall, several months ago, Ye declared slavery was a choice and later attempted to clarify his statement. So tonight, let's keep it straight, no chaser, and talk this out. The Constitution guarantees that everyone has the right to express their opinion. Kanye, NFL players, white supremacists, conspiracy theorists, and any other American. Whether you like it or not, that is the beauty of our great country. So, before I take this over to Thin Bad and the Chief, I also wanted to go to Twitter, where after the SNL stunt took place, he actually commented. So, Kanye tweeted on his Twitter with his Make America Great Again hat and said, quote, "This represents good and America becoming whole again. We will no longer outsource to other countries. We build factories here in America and create jobs. We will provide jobs for all who are free from prisons as we abolish the 13th Amendment. Message sent with love." He then continued in saying, "The 13th Amendment is slavery in disguise, meaning it never ended. We are the solution that heals. Not abolish, but let's amend the 13th Amendment. We apply everyone's opinions to our platform." So, Thin, Bad, and Chief, in this case, do you think Ye is way out in the left field, or is he marketing genius? Because, like it or not, people are talking about him all over the place. Now, granted, in most of these outlets, it's more negative than positive, but as always, bad publicity is nonetheless publicity. So before we get going into this, let me remind our listeners to call us at 702-425-7789 or chat with us live. So, Thin Bad, let's start with you. As a descendant of slaves, which you and I and the Chief all are, what is it? Oh, and Kanye. But what is it that he doesn't understand about the 13th Amendment and making the earlier statement that slavery was a choice, and this idea that we should somehow amend this amendment that freed us from slavery?
I think, he's his cheese has slid off his cracker a while back. I don't think that fella is playing with a full deck. I mean, as you just pointed out, the things that he said, I really think, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm not making light at all of mental illness or anything like that. But we can trace it all the way back. He's been saying out-of-pocket stuff since his mom passed. I don't think the boy's been right since, and I don't know what he's saying. To answer your question, I really don't know what he's saying or why he's saying it for any other reason other than to seize attention.
Right.
And I think that's what he's trying to do, but he's going about it the wrong way. You can't tell me that he didn't know how it was going to be received when he came out there in that "Make America Great Again" hat. He knew what he was doing. He was called at the last minute because I think Ariana Grande, with regard to Saturday Night Live, Ariana Grande was supposed to be the musical guest, and she had to back out at the last minute. And then at the last minute, they got Kanye West. So I guess he probably said, "Oh, here's an opportunity. He's going to come." He probably thought he was going to do this all along. But I don't know. It just seems crazy. I don't think he understands anything about the 13th Amendment. And then he tried to go back, because if he really had a plan, he wouldn't have been going back and kind of backtracking. So I think once he got hit with all the negative publicity and everything else that was happening, and seeing how ridiculous he sounded, just as he sounded when he talked about the other quote where he talked about slavery was a choice. Like, what the hell? What are you talking about? What is he talking about, Chief?
What? Oh my gosh!
Yeah, he's just off. He's obviously off base, and I don't know what he's trying to do. That's not the kind of thing that will get records sold. Unless he just believes that any attention is, even negative attention, is good attention. I don't know what he subscribes to in that regard. Right. But that's just straight up lunacy.
Now, just to throw kind of a monkey wrench in things. I know the three of us, I don't want to speak for you guys, but it just seems like you guys were just as baffled as I was when I really had to think about, like, what does he mean amend the 13th Amendment? So I have a Washington Post article, and I want to read an excerpt from it just to kind of invoke some thought, and then I want to hear you guys' thoughts on it. So the Washington Post says, "So let us ask this possibly dicey question. What exactly was Kanye trying to say? There's a fair chance he was referring to what's called the 13th Amendment's exception clause, as many speculated on Twitter. It's the part of the amendment that literally allows slavery and involuntary servitude to continue across the country on plantations and within the barbed wire fences of prisons. Scholars and prisoners' advocates argue that its impact is still felt today through prison labor. The amendment was the first of 3 Reconstruction amendments passed in the aftermath of the Civil War, designed to extend constitutional rights to African Americans and former slaves, including citizenship and equal protection, blah, 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 blah." So I guess what they're really trying to say is people are speculating that he's talking about amending this clause in the 13th Amendment that still allows, prisoners and other workers be underpaid or treated as indentured slaves, basically, or servants. Sorry. So, do you guys agree with that, or what do you guys think about that aspect of it?
Well, I will say a couple of things about that. I think that his original comment about slavery and slavery being a choice was sort of a wake-up call for a lot of folks that were wondering what is he talking about.
Definitely.
And there's just no way, if you are really a student of history, that you could think that slavery was a choice. And I'm just totally baffled by that one. So I'm still back on that one.
Yeah.
But when you move forward to the 13th Amendment or move backwards to the 13th Amendment, depending on what you're looking at, it abolished slavery and involuntary servitude except as punishment for a crime. So I'm assuming in some offhanded way that he's saying that black folks are normally the ones you see shackled and being led in the courthouse and have the highest incarceration rate and so forth and so on. So therefore, they are slaves. I don't know. Just listening to that explanation that he gave on Inside Edition, and also he did another one on not Inside Edition but on TMZ.
Right.
Mr. Levin tried to, lay it out there for him, and I guess Kanye was like, yeah, that sounds right. Now, from one sense, of course, we certainly need to keep the dialogue going about, the disparaging sentences that are being handed out and those types of things. But when you start talking about things like slavery, you have to be very careful what you say and how you say it.
Yes.
Particularly if you're not well versed on the issue, because you shouldn't have to go back and clarify what you mean when you make a statement like that.
Yes. Immediately.
Right. You should be able to say, whoa. Here's what I mean. Hear me out. And then you go into the reasons why you think portions of the 13th Amendment need to be amended. But he didn't do that.
Right.
What did it take, a day or two for him to come back? I guess for his people to be able to put that together. And that's problematic, because everyone is not going to go back days later and listen to what you just said in your clarification.
Exactly.
The young people who heard that may not hear your clarification. They heard it right then and there, in the instant information age, or I heard Kanye say this about slavery. Now, agree or disagree, that's up to them, and that depends on how much they know. But that's something that you have to keep in mind, particularly when you are a high-profile person like Kanye.
Yeah. I agree. And I mean, I'm not trying to generalize this idea of celebrities being in the political scene, because there are celebrities that I've seen that have been great social activists, and they've done a lot for the community and have really stepped up. But this is what happens when somebody who is high profile and clearly doesn't really thoroughly assess his message, or doesn't thoroughly understand some of these meanings and rules and regulations, begins to speak out. And, away from the political scene, Kanye has always been a celebrity who just kind of says what he wants to say without thinking. He's done it his whole career. Bush doesn't care about black people. This thing, going up on stage and saying, I'm gonna let you finish, but Beyonce should have won this award. Like, he's always been that celebrity to just kind of like say things and then kind of patch it up later. And so, unfortunately, I just think that this is not the space to do that, because, this situation with this president that we have in office and all the things going around is already super sensitive within our country. So now you're putting things like this in the mix, and what I'm scared of is, after Kanye did this SNL thing, President Trump tweeted and was like, Kanye had his Make America Great Again hat on Saturday Night Live. I've done this and that for African Americans. My concern is that if Kanye continues to make these outbursts on black issues that he doesn't have in full context,